Let's jump to this next story. This is just a simple tweet from Deputy Director of the FBI, Dan Bongino. Quote, as we read and process reports of a new COVID strain emerging, I want you to know that we are actively investigating in multiple field offices the cover-up of the origin of the COVID virus, along with associated matters requiring our attention. You deserve answers. I am just going to, because I want to believe, I'm just going to mentally insert in the middle of this statement an implied Fauci is going to get arrested for his perjury when he lied to Congress. And that was a Newsweek story that he did. If Dan Bongino legitimately says he said we're actively investigating, and if that is the case, one of the first things you got to do is take a look at the lab leak, which it's basically confirmed across the board. COVID leaked from a lab. Then you have to ask, why did they make this virus? And you have EcoHealth Alliance, Peter Daszak, and Anthony Fauci. And then you get to the congressional hearing with Rand Paul asking Dr. Fauci, did you engage in gain-of-function research? And according to numerous reports, Anthony Fauci lied under oath. Any active investigation should reasonably include within it the resulting criminal prosecution of Anthony Fauci for perjury.
Absolutely. I mean, that
among other things.
I mean, it should be extremely obvious to people. That shouldn't be controversial. Like there's clear evidence that Fauci was lying under oath.
I'm sorry. Fauci was untruthful. That's what Newsweek said.
Oh, in quotes even.
I see now.
Which is perfect. But I mean, it is a terrible development or a terrible condition that the media literally runs interference for people like Fauci that are responsible for, some terrible medicine. We'll leave it at that.
Hey, guess what? Now you understand. Well, not now you understand.
Viruses.
I don't mean it to sound patronizing or condescending here. Now we see very clearly why the media is losing their minds and trying to shift the mental health question of Biden over to Trump, as Thompson and Tapper have done in the last couple of days. They don't want to talk about the idea of whether Biden's auto pen use was legitimate, because once you open a lot of these individuals up for prosecution that they auto-penned their way out of and magical last-minute totally covers anything pardons, now you can start to bring a situation where perhaps Fauci makes a deal so that 5 or 6 members of Congress are now in the targets for things that they might have been involved in. Because as we know from the Democrats, as Schumer learned from good old David Hogg, when you raise a generation to backstab just like you did, don't be surprised when you've got a blade between the shoulders.
All that needs to happen is for the FBI to go to Fauci and say, listen, Fauci, you are going to be prosecuted for perjury and you'll spend what life you have left behind bars, or give us something we can use, which is famously what the FBI likes to do. And then Fauci says, listen, I'll give you what I can. Just please don't arrest me. And then you end up with evidence against maybe, as you mentioned, some members of Congress who are complicit in covering things up.
It should be a shame if someone looked into my mansion houses, my socialism, and the young Latina woman I'm running around the country with, and Anthony Fauci. How could they look at me in Vermont?
That's a pretty good impression.
I just want to stress this to all the people who might hear this about Bernie Sanders. They say Bernie Sanders, this is what the liberals are saying. He needed the only way to fly from these 2 cities for his rally was to use a private charter. And we're not mad about it. And then my response is he did not need a luxury Challenger 600. He could have got a King Air turboprop. He could have, instead of spending $40,000, spent $10,000. The point is the dude chose a luxury large, or it's like a large to mid-sized jet.
Did he have a big staff that he took with him?
I don't believe so.
Well, but I mean, this is
maybe. But either way, you can get a turboprop that seats 9. Regardless, the point is the dude. I don't want to derail, but this guy.
When he's like, my bones, they're older than
he's just a limousine
my joints.
Liberal, like all of them.
What's that?
He's a limousine liberal. That's what they do. We're gonna fight climate change. Give me your money. Okay, I'm gonna go buy a private jet.
Same with Karen Bass, who instead of just doing a Zoom call to Ghana, took a little flight over to Ghana, and now has only given out 10 building permits. And again, when you start sniffing around, everyone loses their marbles because the gravy train is over.
So going back to the previous story. It is time that Republicans exercise power, and man. I've said for a long time that I'd never want to be involved in politics, but I'm starting to get the itch, maybe in 20 or 30 years. But what I'm frustrated about is where's the reckless abandon from Republicans? Democrats figuratively fling themselves off buildings to exert power.
At federal agents in Newark.
Literally punching. I'm going to say this again. Rep. McIver, closed fist, punched a federal agent on camera.
And then body slammed him like the Kool-Aid man. Oh, yeah.
And Republicans are like, well, you know, better slow. So I like what Cash and Dan are doing. I'm hoping that they're the energy we need, and it looks good so far. Guys, it has only been a couple months. Seriously. They've not even been in as long as Trump has been, so it's only been a few months. So we got to give them some time. However, I just long for someone to come in and just flip the game board over.
Oh, you were saying it's that they're doing it right. They're not going in there with a piece of evidence, doing some clown, kangaroo court and just throwing people in jail. They're actually attempting. What were you going to say?
No, you set me up in the best way, dude. Thanks. What I was going to say, and then he helped me out here with a beautiful assist. There's a process to all of this, because if you don't deal with the federal injunctions first, that'll screw you over. Yep. And then if you don't have the budget to take care of it, that'll screw you over. And then because something will be funded through 29 or 2032 and you can't touch it because Congress allocated money for it. And you have to take these things one at a time. One thing that is very clear about this administration, this is my highest praise for Trump, is that he took that 4 years in purgatory, 4 years in hell once it reached indictment season, and he planned out a lot of moves. Trump doesn't do a ton of planning a lot of times. He just kind of walks in and says, I want it, and I want it now. But in this case, he really did, with his team, sit down and go, if we're going to do this, the dominoes need to be in order. Otherwise, one domino is going to be out of place and the train's going to stop, and the other dominoes are going to stay standing because nothing knocked them over.